Every Super Bowl is a challenge, and this Chiefs team is up for it. They can crush by doing three things today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors, Chiefs Kingdom around the world. For all you bandwagon fans, welcome to what is Chiefs Kingdom. And here, we're brought to you today by LinkedIn Jobs. If you want the qualified candidates that you're looking for, post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. We have to get into the bulk of it here on the Locked On Podcast Network. That means your team every day starting right now as we are live Monday evening for the Tuesday show. If you like and sub and hit the bell, we'll be forever thankful, and you'll be better off for it because you're going to know what's going on in this Super Bowl and everything beyond. We appreciate that. And you can also go over to the audio platforms on Spotify and Apple and everywhere there's a free podcast. You will find us because we are free for you 5 days a week plus. And if you just want a little bit more, you can get on the text line at 816-357-8781 and get signed up over there. Lot to cover today as we're starting to gear up and we have a better concept of what's going on. We're going to cover all the basics for you. And for all you new listeners, I know there's a ton here as it's Super Bowl season. We always get an influx of new voices. We've covered this team for going on 8 seasons together now, both in writing and here on this show. This show's been rolling for quite a while. Chris comes from a background in numbers, including statistics, the capology. He's going to do everything and expand on that over at Chiefs Corner. You can get that at KCChiefsCorner.com. And then I come from the coaching side, physiologist, strength coach, position coach. Back in the day, more experience than I care to elaborate on. You can find all my work on my main Chiefs channel at RGR Football, where we do all kinds of film breakdowns and the like. And then everything team building at NFL33.com, where I go through how you build a roster, how you evaluate talent. And my team does a great job in breaking down the statistics and all the film aspects of that task as well. It all goes into doing what we're doing now, and that is breaking down a championship roster, system, staff, and happenstance that culminates in a chance to bring home another Lombardi. We're going to give you what we hope and how we see an epic performance from Chris Jones possibly coming down in Super Bowl 58. That's going to be later in the show. What they have to do to control the Niners dynamic duo and get after that quarterback a little bit. But job number one starts first, and that's where we start today. There is nothing more basic, whether you go back to Marty Ball and Gunther Cunningham, or you go back to the 60s, the team that won this championship the first time for this franchise. You have to stop the run, and there's never more so than Christian McCaffrey. Really has changed the dynamic. I know the Chiefs saw him when he first went to San Francisco. This is a different team and a different offense, and it has expanded and really embraced what McCaffrey brings. And so job number one, every play, every drive, certainly every quarter in this ballgame has to be understanding how you slow down CMC for me.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing that they got to do. If they slow down CMC, this game plan gets a whole lot easier for the defense. If they can hold him to even 75 yards rushing on the day, that sounds like maybe a lot, but when you're considering the weather is not going to be an issue in this game, the field shouldn't be an issue in this game. Everything should be the best circumstances. 75 yards for McCaffrey is going to be a game that I think that I would take as a Chiefs fan, because if he's only getting 75 yards, he's not killing you. I think they're going to have to run the ball enough to keep him a viable option for their offense.
Yeah, there's just no way about it. It flows through there. It's creative, the Shanahan system. We've heard all about it. It all starts with being able to run the ball solidly. We'll talk about blocking coming up this week. Matt Derrick's going to join us tomorrow. We'll go through more of what's going on the ground and how that's going to evaluate. But it's not just Christian. His athleticism speaks for itself. Slowing him down is not about getting a hat on him. The guy will take a pounding. He can take hits. You're really not going to do anything other than wear him down and frustrate him. And for me, that comes down to a couple of things. Number one being attack those A gaps so you don't get the easy run straight down the throat of the defense. Tough call without Derek Nottie, to be honest. We'll see who they decide to elevate. Mike Pennell's been putting in some great snaps for a guy who was on the couch a month ago. But that's not enough. The linebacker crew is going to have to be focused. That, for me, is probably job number one. Where do you see it?
No, I agree. I think that the A gaps are going to be extremely important in this game. You cannot lose at the defensive tackle position. Uh, Thankfully, you're not going up against a formidable line, at least in the middle of the San Francisco 49ers offensive line. I think that they have a good offensive line. Their tackles are good, but in the middle, they can be a little susceptible. So you're in a situation where I think that you have to attack those A gaps. You have to be sending pressure. You have to be looking like you're going to send pressure. But you also have to have guys that are willing to do what Justin Reed did last weekend. He lined up 10, 15 yards on the ball, came down and stuffed the run before it even got started. And this was an outside run. I know we're talking A gaps, but it's the same thing. I mean, doing that in the A gap, doing that on the outside, on the edge is just as important. You have to be able to shut down the running game, and that takes 11 guys playing the defense. And the one thing that I will give Kansas City credit for, and this is something that, several years ago you wouldn't have been able to say, everybody on this defense is going to hit you, and they're going to hit you hard, and that includes the corners.
Yeah, and we're going to get to them here in a second. The point is that the A-gaps start the flow, especially when you want to use some of the misdirection that Kyle Shanahan prides himself on. It starts inside, and whether it's counter steps by the backs, whether it's pulling somebody across the formation, it starts there. And so if you can it doesn't have to be penetration all the way 3 yards deep to, corral for the running back for a TFL. It can be simply disrupting the blocking pattern so that as he takes the ball, maybe there's somebody not in front of him to lead the way, which helps the second level, which helps, as you said, the safeties come down. I think it starts there. And then the second thing, as you said, is you got to be able to protect the edges too. I feel, especially without Charles Omenihu, it is more on the DBs, particularly the safeties, but they hope to have Willie Gay back. And with the athleticism at the linebacker level, you have to feel that from hash to sideline, they're in pretty good shape there.
Yeah, no, they should be in great shape. You look at Willie Gay coming back for this game. He did not have an injury designation. I think that's huge. Tranquil, with Nick Bolton and with Leo Chanel, all four of those guys really are somewhat interchangeable to an extent. But looking at how they play defense this year, looking at how they've been attacking in the running game, yes, they've struggled at times, and yes, that the loss of Derek Nottie is big, and there's some questions, with who they're going to replace him with, and can you stop them with guys like Chris Jones and Treshawn Wharton? Those are going to be big question marks going into this game when the Niners want to run. But it comes down to the linebackers. I mean, the linebackers, the line is there to try to keep people off the linebackers so the linebackers can make the play. The one thing I will say is you watch what Nick Bolton and you watch what Drew Tranquil have done all season long, and Willie Gay even to an extent, both inside and outside. You watch all those three guys go after the running game. They're hitting the holes. They're hitting them hard, and they're hitting them fast.
Yeah, and that's the name of the game. And luckily, we'll have more on the injury designations as we get closer to ball time. But haven't seen anything on Willie Gay this week, and quiet is good here. The question then becomes, how do you evolve? What happens if you're successful in job number one? It's two-pronged when you're talking about the Niners passing attack, 2.5 maybe, if you're really looking at the tight end as well. How do they slow that down to funnel and to force? That's going to be the name of the game after that. We're going to get to that coming up next on the backside here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And whether you're getting ready for a Super Bowl with your roster or whether you're trying to hire for your small business, you want to find the quality professionals that can do the job right. That's where we're at. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. They have all the tools to find those right professionals, those candidates that can be professional for you, for teams and your team in particular, faster and for free. It isn't just another job board. It's a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which make it the best place to go try to hire. Gives you access to professionals that you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all the work while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many qualified candidates to choose from. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Get in there and find out. LinkedIn Jobs know all the small businesses, including yours, that are wearing many hats and need some help. They got to find those right resources. Post your job for free to get in on the action at linkedin.com/lockedon. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to find and post your job for free. Terms and conditions certainly apply, but that's where you want to go at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. And at that point, when you have your team, when you have everything set up, It allows you to get into the action, particularly on Super Bowl week. So happy Super Bowl to you. All of our preparations are going into understanding how to celebrate it right and get in the action at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is a lot like a fest, a cookout, work, as well as sheer entertainment. And it all rolls into one, and you can get a ton of it done all at once and still be in the action and maybe make yourself a little bit of money. That's what I like to do as well. There's so many ways to get a W this week, whether you're placing bets, whether you're hitting the money line, whether you just want to know who's going to score the first touchdown, who might get a double take in that end zone, especially now that they're painted gold for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then how many points are going to get scored, overs, unders, the totals. All that is available at one spot. New customers right now, you're getting in the action in the best way possible. You're getting $200 back in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Super simple. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get signed up. All of it's there and available at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every single moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We talked about job number one. Job number one here on the podcast network is to give you the information you need every single day. So check out the rest of these shows available. We appreciate you making us your first listen, but there's plenty more to go around. And check on the Locked On Sports Today feed that has 24/7 everything that you need to know on all the major teams and happenings. What's major here is that if you take the step forward and you get goal number one accomplished, and you allow the Niners to shrink down the playbook a little bit, they're going to come at you with a couple of weapons in Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and then depending on how they want to use George Kittle, I think they might get to that. Although, as you pointed out yesterday really well, that it hasn't been that dynamic for George Kittle in the playoffs. So I do think that's in reserve, but I don't know that it's job number one. And folks, if you missed that show, go back and listen to yesterday because we covered a lot of ground on the offensive side of the ball. Today's all defense, which makes me kind of happy. But that's what it comes down to is two-headed monster, in my opinion. Ayuk down the field, Samuel all over the field. I don't know that you can even name a single spot that he's going to go to. And that takes, I think, a group. We know they have good corners. We know that they have young secondary overall. Is it an advantage to be young and quote-unquote, I don't want to call them dumb, but unscared by your opponent in this game?
You know, I think that it's the bigger thing that really sticks out to me going into this game is Kansas City's been here before. All their corners, except for Chamari Connor and Nick Jones, have been here before. They know what they're getting themselves into. And I know Chamari Connor is not a corner, but he plays it there from time to time in different packages. So, you know, all those DBs, they've been here before. They know exactly what they're getting into. And we talked about it yesterday. Even Mike Edwards, who wasn't here last year, has been to the Super Bowl before. He knows what it's like to play in this type of game. He knows how much faster it's going to be. The entire defense has a really good idea. So, yeah, it's great to be young and dumb, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But I would argue that the Chiefs don't have to be. They already know what they're getting themselves into. They've been at the pinnacle. They've played one of the best teams last year. They played A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and they took care of business. They did what they needed to do. And you know, maybe this is the game where we see Trent McDuffie get his first interception. How big would that be?
Let's not even go there because that's, I think, probably the prime matchup, right? I don't want to jinx anything because I see L'Jarius Sneed traveling with Brandon Ayuk. I don't think there's any reason not to. So that tells me that it's more about McDuffie being the primary defender underneath on Deebo Samuel. Now, they're going to try to bust him loose. They're going to run him in motion. They're going to jet him. They're going to do a number of little arrow routes, little pivots, things underneath where they can try to get him away from Trent McDuffie's coverage. So I really feel like this is kind of a single and a zone type scheme. We're going to talk about our preview on Friday, folks. Don't miss that because I'm going to lay out for you everything that I would do if I was calling this game. And Chris is going to shoot all the holes in it, so that's going to be fun. But it comes down to mixed coverage and attacking the player and what he does. Unfortunately, Deebo does a little bit of everything.
That's true. The one thing I will say, and I know Deebo Samuel is not Travis Kelce, but the one thing I will say about defending a guy like Deebo Samuel, he's coming into this game. He's not going to be 100% healthy. None of the players are, I get that, but he's been dealing with injuries. This is a game where if they get in close and they have him in close to the line of scrimmage, you hit him with, you try to hit him with a linebacker or an edge player. I mean, you take a chance at least getting a shot before you're going into a rush or doing whatever you're doing. You take it to them. You be aggressive with how you play defense, and then you let Trent McDuffie do whatever he's going to do. The interesting thing that's going to play into this is how do you use L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie, and where are you going to be sending them on blitzes in different areas? Because I know we're talking about coverage, but those two are not going to be the only guys that are going to be covering Ayuk and Debo. That will be the case most of the time, but they're going to send them from time to time as well. And the rest of the defense is going to have to know their responsibilities like they have all season and step up.
Yeah, that's the interesting curl there, is that the two guys that are your best cover guys are also probably your best blitzers. Jamar Connor's right in there as well.
Yep.
I'll give him there. So the question becomes, do you let and does their formation reduction and their reduced splits and trying to tighten things up, probably to emphasize the run game and the RPO game, does that limit you towards, you have a corner on George Kittle? Is it Watson and Williams? Is it somebody else? Is it a combo package over the top? The way that Spags deploys the zone scheme, I think, is going to be key in how they deal with Kittle. Because if you give too much attention, if you put too many more resources on Ayuk and Debo, he's going to burn you. He has the potential. I know he hasn't been the stalwart as Travis has, but he can burn you still. And there's a little bit something to be said there that he and Ayuk in particular run block well. They're not coming off the field. You're not going to get a tell based on who's on the field or what the formation is. They can do it all. And I think that's something that I think you're really going to have to hunker down on and understand how they go about their business.
You know, the thing that I know we're talking about coverage, but the reality is that this is all about Spags. What's he going to do? What is he going to have in his bag of tricks for this? What coverage is he going to run when he's sending blitzers from the corner position? What kind of coverage is he going to run when he's sending linebackers from different areas? What's he going to show Purdy at the start? Because if you're showing Purdy one thing and you're making him throw a quick out and you have that covered, what's he going to do next? There are so many things that are going to play into this game. Ayuk and Debo Samuel are absolutely the two biggest weapons that they have in the passing game. Kittle is big as well. But how does Spags go about defending this entire offense, and how does he go about attacking a guy that hasn't seen Spags' system in Brock Purdy? Because that's going to play into how this game goes.
And it all starts and stops with one particular player. We're going to give you exactly what you want to know. How epic can this game be from Chris Jones? Give it everything that we've seen from him. That's coming up next on the Locked On Podcast Network.
If you're getting ready for the big game, why not just go throw everything you're going to need for the big game in your cart on DoorDash and get everything delivered to your door? It'll make you so much simpler getting ready to host your big game party. Why order for your team on an empty stomach? Order on DoorDash and save on football party watch favorites. There's tons of things out there. You can order pizza, wings, soda, burgers, or even just buns on DoorDash and get it all delivered without missing a game. Kick back at kickoff with unbeatable deals and everything you need for the watch party or tailgate. Score football's best deals on groceries, restaurants, retail, and much, much more. Get prepared before game day. Stock up on your favorite appetizers and order all your tailgate gear on DoorDash. Then get ready to watch your team win. Get 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order. When you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCK23, subject to change, terms do apply. That's 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCK23. Subject to change, terms apply. One of the things that's great about Kansas City football and their fans is they're a very passionate fan base. And one of our sponsors is very passionate about helping you keep your ride or die alive. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and much, much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. And Ryan's muted.
I try to give you respect when you're doing your reads. So, hey, an epic game is what's in store here. There's no other definition of a Super Bowl. But for one player in particular, especially on Spag's side of the ball, that they may need a big performance from, and who personally needs it as well, it comes down to who can stand out the most. It is Chris Jones right here. And there's a lot that goes into this. I don't think we can cover it all here on this show today. But Chris is the best pass rusher on this roster. He's honestly the best pass rusher at defensive tackle in this league. And if it comes down to it, he might have the best matchup along that front right now. If you happen to play center for the San Francisco 49ers, I'm sorry, Jake Brendel, like this is a nightmare situation for you. As I said, the A-gaps are important, whether it's the linebackers blitzing at you or whether it's Chris going in there. He's so quick with his hand movements. And he's really been honest about what his situation is. Do you think he's more motivated to go just absolutely off because of what's coming this offseason?
I think he has to be. And I think that you look at what he has done this last offseason, what he's done this season, the way he's played. I think that he showed that he is a force to be reckoned with in the middle of the Chiefs defense. And I think that it's, you talk about the center of the guard, and I do agree with you. I think that's the best matchup, but it's not going to shock me to see Chris Jones over one of their tackles at some point. They're going to do something that they're going to get Chris Jones one-on-one with one of the offensive tackles, more than likely, I guess, the right tackle, not the left, but they're going to put him in that situation where he can go against the right tackle one-on-one. And it's going to happen several times throughout the game. I believe it'll be on a 3rd and long. The thing that they're going to lose by not having a Minihue is they can't have somebody like a Minihue break down inside and be that guy inside and help inside like he has so far this season. But the thing is right now, you don't care about snap counts. It's not about snap counts going into this game. It's about winning the Super Bowl. Everything else is on the line. Everybody is playing for one goal, and it doesn't matter how many snaps you play. You're going to get the best effort from everybody, and I do think that he's going to have a great game.
And it comes down, in however many snaps you're going to play, to motivation. There's nothing short of motivation for Chris here in this particular ball game. There's a number of levels to this, but it's as much a legacy game for him as it is for Patrick Mahomes. He's been there through this process. There's been talk about how he doesn't perform in the Super Bowls quite as well. This is a guy who's tipped passes against this team the last time they faced them in a championship. This is more than one way to affect the game than getting to the quarterback. And I think he knows that. And I think of all the pass rushers that we see across the league that can take over a game, he can do it in multiple ways, especially getting his club in the air to take away that passing of a guy that, quite frankly, isn't the biggest stature and doesn't have the biggest arm. And so I think velocity and trajectory are playing into Chris Jones here. And that motivation to excel applies to coming contract negotiations. And the fact that he is admonished and admitted to the public, this could be his last game as a Chief. How much does that play in for you?
I think it plays into it. I think you go back and watch the Baltimore game last week. I guess it was 2 weeks ago almost at this point. But you go back and watch that game. One of the first plays that Baltimore was driving, Chris Jones he didn't pass rush specifically. He saw where Lamar was, held his man in place, and then stuck up his arm at the right time and got in the way of the pass. That is just as big almost as getting a sack. Getting a sack is obviously just a little bit bigger, but when you're in a situation where you can't get to the quarterback because they're doing quick passes, that is invaluable. You can't put a dollar amount on that. And then you start looking at the other guys around him that helped this year. You look at George Karlaftis getting over double-digit sacks. You saw what he did in the AFC Championship game. He beat good players, but part of that was Chris Jones helped him get to a point where not only did he have the opportunity to get there because Jones was taking the double teams, but Karlaftis was playing off of Jones at times as well.
I think that's going to continue to happen. And as he goes, the defensive front goes. I think we all know that. And I think the big thing that leads to what I think can be an epic game for him is not just the motivation for the offseason or for his legacy, but the fact that this is his chance to show that he is the leader. He is the Patrick Mahomes of the defense. And he's got a different style. We all know that. But he also can challenge guys. And I feel like this season in particular, he stepped up to challenge his teammates and his D-line mates a little bit more than we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and you saw it last year in the Super Bowl too. I mean, there's plenty of video at the very end of the Super Bowl where he's talking to the defense saying, sit down. We may have to go back on the field. I mean, that is showing leadership that, gets overlooked, but it is still leadership. It is still important. It is still it's something that you need your leaders to do. You need them to be in the moment. You need them to focus on what is best for the team and how to get the team over whatever you're trying to get through. At this point, it was just getting to a point where they could go back out on the field and make sure that the Eagles didn't have a chance to win the Super Bowl. This year, it's going to be the Niners. What are they going to have to do? Where are they going to be when he has to step up and say, okay, guys, this is what we have to do. You do this, go sit down, get rested, because we're going to have to go back out there and we're going to have to get after it. One thing I will say, you look at the title of this episode, Chiefs defense has them back in the Super Bowl. Without Chris Jones, without this defense, this team is not where they are right now. That is 100% different than what it was last year. And there are three players that you can really hang that on, mostly Drew Tranquill, Mike Edwards, and Charles Omenihu. But this entire defense has played together and played fantastic the entire season. And now they're one win away from being back-to-back Super Bowl champions. It's fantastic to watch.
It is. And it's a story that will, yet again, put another spin on what this team does. So how do they get there and how are they feeling? Tomorrow, Matt Derrick will be with us from Las Vegas. He's with the team on the site, getting ready for this particular showdown. He will have all the insight for us. You see him every Wednesday. He is our beat reporter. Make sure that you're here with us and check out his work at ChiefsDigest.com. I'm going to be live later on tonight and all week long on RGRFootball.com. That'll take you to the site that you need to be at. We appreciate you guys being here in the live chat. Very much appreciate that. Not a show that we can take questions on. We'll do that in the off season coming. We appreciate you guys being here and being lively and making us your first listen as you do the rest of the podcast network. Check that out. And make sure you check out the Locked On Sports Today feed, because it's going to give you the information you want on all the sports, on all the major topics. It's going to get it done. We have plenty more for you as we get with the 49ers guys and we preview the game on Friday. Enjoy your time. We appreciate you being with us today, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.